Ford is the latest automaker scheduled to release its first quarter earnings results after the bell. And amid the ongoing EV push, car makers continue to focus on both fully electric and hybrid options. But affordability and access do remain a top priority for customers. We're looking at how to navigate the big picture with the Yahoo Finance Playbook. Joining us now, Olivier Blanchard, a research director for semiconductors, EV, and autos at the Futurum Group. Apologies, I speak French, so always wants to be the French pronunciation. Olivier, we've got Ford coming after the close. We already heard from General Motors. We already heard from Tesla. If you're an investor, how are you sort of weighting these as we sort of go over these earnings?
Right. Well, it's the EV space is a complicated space, and I would say that the automotive space more broadly is a complicated space as well. And the way that I like to look at this is it's not just about EVs, it's also about software-defined vehicles. And sometimes we conflate EVs and software-defined vehicles because they tend to merge. But there are essentially two technology tracks there. One of them is obviously the decarbonization and the battery versus hybrids versus fossil fuel part of the equation. And the other part is all of the technology that goes into vehicles, like ADAS, like cockpit technologies, like all the connectivity stuff and the intelligence that will eventually take us to these computers on wheels that can do anything for us. And so when I'm looking at which companies have a long runway of success, I don't want to be bullish about Tesla, but because obviously they have some operational issues. But all of these companies, whether it's Ford, GM, BMW, the Chinese manufacturers, Tesla included, are all on the right track for growth. And so I think that some of the pains that we're seeing now are growing pains. They're also reflective of seasonal behaviors, people buying cars at different times of the year. And I think they also reflect a little bit the state of the economy. Currently, the EV market and the automotive market for software-defined vehicles and EVs simultaneously is a little bit skewed on the side of more expensive models. And consumers are just kind of worried about that kind of spending right now. Things are very expensive. Obviously, there's inflation. There's a little bit of price gouging, and people are a little bit closer to their budgets. And so what we're seeing is a reluctance to buy EVs for two reasons. One, most of them are still a little bit above the price point that the average consumer for a mainstream adoption of EVs is comfortable with. And the other one is fear about charging and infrastructure, about the serviceability of the vehicles, and also about the long-term resale value of these vehicles once the batteries and the technologies that are on board have a few years on them.
Olivia, so if price is an issue, though, Elon Musk just told you help is on the way. He's got a more affordable version coming. I guess I have two questions, Olivier. One is this more affordable version. I'd love your guess as to what that is going to be, Olivier. Is it going to be a truly new vehicle or just kind of, an existing vehicle with some tweaks? And two, what do you just ultimately think demand's going to be like?
Yeah, so I think you have to look at the price points that consumers are comfortable with. So let's say the $35,000 range for a new vehicle. Obviously, that's going to be much more stripped down than a luxury vehicle that's $75,000 or $100,000. And so I think that those parameters and those breaks within the industry with the price points are pretty much set already. Now it's up to the OEMs to come and meet those price points with the types of features and performance that match them. Unfortunately for Tesla, I don't know what it looks like yet, and I don't think that Tesla knows what it looks like either. Obviously, they've slashed prices last year to great effect, right? They had a banner Q4 in Europe and in the US. But unfortunately, it's kind of a silver bullet that you can only fire every once in a while. And so now you're seeing Tesla basically just having purchased a lot of this volume with profitability. And there's not a lot of room for Tesla specifically to go from a positive profit standpoint in terms of cutting costs. So I don't know if there's a short-term solution for Tesla there. However, for companies like Ford, GM, a lot of the Korean companies, the European companies, and obviously the Chinese EV OEMs, that's something that they're a little bit better at, and that they're I think more experienced working with, and also they have more scale production-wise.
And Olivia, when you're looking at ways to sort of play demand for autos, I know that you're also looking at the broader tech ecosystem when it comes to chip makers that service the automakers. For example, are those companies, can they do well even if, for example, EV sales aren't as strong?
Yeah. So I look at a company like Qualcomm, for example, that has this sort of like full digital chassis platform that's kind of layered. So you can purchase the entire stack from them and try to do kind of like a Qualcomm flavored Tesla stack. Or you can pick and choose. And I think that's where so there are essentially two tiers here. There's one from the technology side where you can go to the luxury performance all the way down to sort of like the budget performance and just enable the right features for the vehicles and choose the systems on chip and the essentially the hardware that's going to be most adaptable cost-wise to those lower cost vehicles, or go with the premium and equip your vehicles that way. And the other thing is just limiting the number of features. So you could have an EV that has very few digital features on board, right? So you might have like just an L1 or maybe a low L2 level of driver assistance, as opposed to the L2++ or L3+ that you might see in more advanced vehicles. And that's just a way to kind of pick and choose which features match the specific price points that are going to appeal to those consumers. Yeah. So there's in other words, there's a lot of flexibility there for the OEMs to work with their technology partners to find the right mix.
Makes sense. Olivier, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.